Hello, and today I'll be making a video, and in this video, I'll be discussing the question. So, should pharmaceutical patents be abolished to reduce the global health inequality? So, why does this matter? So, billions rely on these essential medicines. This is people from all over the globe. Patents shape who gets access and who doesn't. So, this debate actually affects real lives globally. It's particularly relevant within the context of decolonising medicine, as it highlights how power, access, and decision making in global health are often shaped by wealth and geography rather than need. So, the global context. So, pharma companies control drug production, and patents mean they have exclusive rights to the drug. So, this means prices can vary up to 100 times between different regions due to where different manufacturers are based. So, defining pharmaceutical patents. So, they are a form of intellectual property that gives companies exclusive rights to manufacture and sell a drug, usually for a period of around 20 years. The intention behind patents is to allow companies to recover the high costs of research and development and to incentivize innovation. However, these protections also restrict who can produce medicines, which has important consequences for price and access. So then we look at what is global health inequality. Well, this is an uneven access to medicines, with lower income regions carrying the largest disease burdens, and there's also it's deep rooted in colonial systems. So why is this debated? So you should look at the viewpoint of should profit or public health take priority, and patents is what sits right at the center of this question. So in this video, I'll take approach by presenting arguments both in favour of and against abolishing pharmaceutical patents, before summarising an about summary and some reflective questions to end with, just to get everyone watching this video thinking about the future. So, one argument in favour of abolishing patents is that they raise drug prices. Patent monopolies limit competition, allowing companies to charge high prices for essential medicines. This can make treatments unaffordable for individuals and governments, particularly in low income regions, restricting access even when effective medicines do exist. A clear example of this impact can be seen in HIV or AIDS treatment. So, during a period of patent protection, antiretroviral drugs once cost over $10,000 per patient per year. When generic versions entered the market, prices fell by as much as 99%, dramatically increasing access and saving millions of lives. This demonstrates how patent restrictions can directly affect affordability. So, high prices have particularly severe consequences in low income countries. Limited access to essential medicines leads to delays in treatment, which can increase preventable illness and mortality. As a result, many countries become more reliant on foreign aid and international donors, reinforcing global dependency rather than building sustainable health systems. As you can see, there's an unequal impact where the delays in treatment lead to increased mortality and an increased reliance on foreign aid. Another argument in favour of abolishing patents is that they reinforce global inequality. Most pharmaceutical patents are held by companies based in the global north, while the burden of disease is often highest in the global south. This creates a power imbalance where profits are concentrated in wealthy countries, while poorer regions face shortages and delay access to treatment. Evidence of this inequality can be seen in the fact that around 80% of people living in low-income countries lack access to essential medicines. Patents contribute to these availability gaps by limiting where and how medicines can be produced. So there's a case example using COVID-19 vaccines where patents protections limit the global manufacturing. So the high-income countries, for example, a country like Germany, had secured the early doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, and low-income countries had to wait months and years to receive these. And also, in addition to waiting the months and years, the vaccines that were made were not suitable for storage in the low-income countries, with refrigeration being a key point. And in Nigeria, a lot of vaccines had to be destroyed because the refrigeration wasn't up to the Western standard, which is also a result of not allowing the manufacturing to be in Nigeria. So a third argument in favour of reforming or abolishing patents is that it can support local manufacturing. When patents restrictions are removed or relaxed, countries can produce generic medicines locally. This improves access, reduces costs, and allows countries to gain greater control over their healthcare systems. So, a case example, we look at India. So, India provides a clear example of this. By rejecting several HIV drug patents, India enabled domestic manufacturers to produce generic medicines. This led to significant price reductions and allowed India to become a major supplier of affordable HIV treatment to many African countries. So, in addition to this, supporting local production also improves autonomy. Countries gain greater control over pricing, supply chains become more stable, and a long term capacity is built. From a decolonising medicine perspective, this reduces reliance on external actors and promotes self determination in healthcare. However, there are also strong arguments against abolishing pharmaceutical patents. One of the main arguments is that these patents provide incentives for research and development. By protecting innovation, patents ensure that companies can earn a financial return on their investments. Without this protection, fewer new drugs may be developed. So, without any incentive for innovation, which is a big paycheck at the end, there's going to be a lack of financial return, which isn't going to provide any incentive. So, next up, developing new medicines is extremely expensive and also very risky. So, bringing a single drug to market can cost up to and over £2 billion, can take over a decade, and there is also a high failure rate at every stage of development. Supporters of patents argue that without guaranteed returns, companies would be unwilling to invest in this process. So, what would happen if patents were removed entirely? Well, there is a risk that companies would avoid research that's considered unprofitable. This could lead to fewer breakthroughs, particularly in areas such as rare disease, which already struggle to attract funding. Innovation may become even more concentrated in wealthier regions as well. Another argument against abolishing patents is that it could slow innovation. Patents are argued to create a stable funding environment that allows long-term research planning. Industry groups claim that removing patents could reduce scientific progress and limit future medical advances. So, some evidence to show this is through patents and breakthroughs. A lot of groundbreaking drugs occur with patent protection. They have been developed under patent-based systems. While this does not prove that patents are the only effective model, it highlights that there is currently no fully tested alternative that operates at a global scale. Rare disease development. Well, rare disease development further illustrates the same issue. Rare diseases affect small patient populations and they offer a low commercial return. Patents and orphan drug incentives are often seen as essential in making research into these conditions financially viable. Without any financial paycheck at the end, then there's no incentive to target these rare diseases. A further concern is that there is no proven large-scale alternative system to pharmaceutical patents. While there is open source and publicly funded models, they have been proposed, but they remain limited in the scope and largely untested in a global pharmaceutical context. There are also quality and safety concerns, so removing patents could increase the number of manufacturers, making regulation more complex. So regulation agencies may face increased burdens and risk of counterfeit, unsafe, ineffective models could rise. Pharmacovigilance and global supply chains could become more difficult to manage. In summary, arguments in favour of abolishing pharmaceutical patents focus on improving affordability, reducing global health inequality, and supporting local manufacturing and autonomy. Arguments against abolishing emphasize the importance of patents for innovation, research funding, rare disease development, and maintaining safety and quality standards. So I think it's important to find a balance. So rather than making a choice between keeping or abolishing, this debate suggests the need for an approach that suits everyone. So measures such as compulsory licensing, tiered pricing, and stronger public investment in research may help address the inequality while also still supporting the innovation. So to conclude, I would like to leave with 3 reflective questions. So reflective question 1 is, who do you think should have the power to decide who gets access to essential medicines? Should it be the individual itself, governing bodies, pharmaceutical companies? Leaving on reflective question 2, how should responsibility for global access to medicines be shared between governments, pharmaceutical companies and international organizations. So who do you think should have the responsibility for global access? Should it be a government, pharmaceutical companies? And finally, reflective question 3. Try to think of a global model that could be used to balance innovation and global equity. So just a message to leave on: if you could think of any global models, just hypothesize, give it a think, and thank you very much for watching.